Are we live? We're live. Do we have notifications? That's the question. Do we have notifications? What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Welcome. Oh, shoot, we don't? No notifications? Oh, we do. We do have a notification. Okay. Come on in, man. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. How are you? Make sure the sound is working properly. There we go. What's up, Sean? How you doing, Sean? Caribbean, Tammy, JJ Ball. And we're going to check out a couple of things. There was this interview. Quanell X spoke on the case. Spoke on Metcalf and Karmelo. Now, one thing I want to get straight, first thing off the rip. First thing I want to say to everybody, this is not about race. That's what everybody's saying, but it is. It's all race. It seems like it. But I don't think whatever happened with these two individuals was race. But everything else around it, everybody, it's all race. And one of the comments that I saw that was kind of interesting to me, because there's a lot of the bullying conversation, right? A lot of the conversation was bullies. Both of the brothers are bullies. Metcalf bullies. And how? They didn't even go to the same school. How? Their own family representative said they didn't know each other. And I see a lot of these big platforms and hundreds and thousands of people saying that they knew each other, and they didn't. Okay? So let's at least get that correct. We can't. We'll never fix the internet. Quanell X is a long history. We've covered stories with Quanell X. Quanell X, I don't know, man. He was like the new Black Panthers. He's an activist, a leader. He's from Houston, Texas. A long history, controversial man. Notoriously, for me personally, with Malia Davis, the girl that was killed by her stepfather. So be ready. Let's watch it. There's a couple other clips I want to show you guys. But let's watch Quanell X.
It's time for today's face-off on Fox Soul. Challenges Quanell X and Big Angry Adams. Ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Right now.
He's just...
Oh, let me talk about this, Sean. I'm glad you're saying this. Before we get into this whole thing. So Sean put a message in the chat. Don't know if you covered it. Karmelo GoFundMe was taken down, but Gibson goes at 283. Everybody and their mama is telling me that GoFundMe was shut down for Karmelo. That was like a week ago. The shit's been shut down, but a lot of people there, even on my Facebook post now that I made recently today. Yo, did you hear it? Breaking news, the GoFundMe was shut down. This thing it's been happened. That was like days ago. The Give, Send, Go, which is the alternative that they switched to. Well, that's really zoomed in. The Give, Send, Go, that has 283,000, and they upped the goal from 300 again to 350. Okay. GoFundMe has been shut down. And there's nothing astonishing or groundbreaking about that. They have a policy that if you're alleged to have committed violent crimes, they won't allow you to fund your defense on GoFundMe. And this has happened multiple times. So there's nothing. I appreciate you, Sean, but I'm glad you reminded me because I wanted to address that. There's nothing groundbreaking. There's nothing like, oh shit, we got them. That's just their policy. Now, people are trying to get the Give, Send, Go shut down. People are really upset about the funds that was raised. And I personally feel that he does have the right to raise the funds. Even if I don't agree or have conflicting opinions about the story, he has the right to raise funds. And even the other people, different cases, but whatever, Rittenhouse and the other people mentioned, they've had a lot of funding online, down a penny, whatever. So he should be able to have his whatever he wants to do. And clearly there's a lot of support behind that, right? He has a lot of support.
It's gonna be so messy.
Then he was taken into
This round, here's Quanell X.
Quanell X.
Charles, we just watched a segment here.
And by the way, so I was told that this interview was crazy. A friend of mine told me. And so I was like, you know what? I want to come watch it with you guys. I haven't watched this yet. Quanell X. Adorable, deplorable. Luigi shouldn't have a fun either. And well, that's the thing. Luigi got a fun too. Made a lot of money, and he's wealthy and rich, and people are giving their rent money to this guy. Giving their rent money and their kids funding and schooling and supplies and shit, their last bit of money for Luigi Mangione from a line of wealthy family. They're all rich and wealthy, and people are giving their last dime to Luigi.
Discussing the tragic loss of life of a young high school student in Frisco, Texas at a track meet. And watching that newscast, it upsets me because that newscast is full of damn lies. This is a tragic situation where a young man lost his life, yes. But young Karmelo Anthony, in this case, the young man who's been charged with murder, he did not assault anyone in the beginning. He didn't start this fight. The young man approached him with his brother, threatening Karmelo to move out of a spot that was not assigned to anybody. Where Karmelo was sitting, he had a right to be sitting. There was no assigned seating anywhere in the stadium that excluded students from sitting in certain areas. Then when they went to Karmelo, he was threatened by both brothers. And he told them, don't put your hands on me. And they threatened to put their hands on him. And he told them, if you put your hands on me, watch what happens. The white kid, in this case, punched Karmelo in the face.
What? No! Oh my God, that's what my friend warned me. We're not even in we're 3 minutes in, but what? We're not. We're like 10, 20 seconds into Quanell talking. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yo, can you guys help me out with the likes too, please? I'd appreciate it. Help me out with the likes. Oh my God. Okay.
To put their hands on him. And he told them, if you put your hands on me, watch what happens. The white kid, in this case, punched Karmelo in the face. He didn't push him, he punched him in the face. And then that young man defended himself, and unfortunately, a young student lost his life. But Charles, in the state of Texas, you have a right to stand your ground, and if you are the victim of a vicious
and we're going to get into that later, to the whole stand your ground stuff.
Attack, you can use deadly force if necessary to protect yourself and your life, to stop you from becoming a further victim of an assault or a crime. Why is this young man in jail when he didn't start it? He didn't approach anyone. They approached him. They used profane language toward him. They threatened him and then assaulted him, and he defended himself. Why is he in jail?
By the way, I guess I should just state this. He wasn't punched. There's anywhere that corroborates he was punched, not even in the police records. So far, I haven't heard any witnesses of that. Even the family representative didn't say that yet when we watched the interview last night. That's what we're going to talk about, Hooks. Proportionality, yeah, at one of the other interviews.
Defended himself from a vicious attack and assault. So this young man, in my opinion, should not be in jail. Teach your children. Keep your hands to yourself. That's what needs to be taught here. And to tell this young brother to give up your seat, give me your seat, this ain't no damn Rosa Parks era.
So this is a lot of the stuff that's being said. We saw the other day the lady said Rosa Parks and don't give up your seat. They're taking us to like those times and slavery and segregation, and this is the etiquette at these places with this event, these tracks. You stay with your team under their tents. It's not customary to just go under people's tents.
You just can't go to a young black man and say, give up your seat. He had a right to sit there. And so that brother had his back of the bus moment and refused to give up his seat, and it cost that young white kid his life.
I rarely say this, Quanell. I sometimes internalize it, but shame on you. How absolutely despicable for you to sit here and try to draw this false equivalency between Rosa Parks and this scumbag murderer, right? Shame on you for living a life defined by make-believe racial grievance that you seek a pulpit to lie to people. And let's talk about those lies. Even if you assume everything that is coming out of the Karmelo Anthony camp, even if you assume all of that is true, under the laws of the state of Texas, he is still absolutely guilty of murder, period. Like, you can assume.
Well, he's saying guilty. He hasn't been found guilty yet. There's a process to that.
All of that is true. Under the laws of the state of Texas, he is still absolutely guilty of murder, period. Like, you can assume all the fabrications are true. It's still murder, right? You do not have a right to use deadly force in response to a shove or a punch. Now, mind you,
and that's what we're going to talk about in one of the other videos that I'm going to show you with Texas stand your ground, as Hoax mentioned. There's like proportionality, and at the end of the day, when I was watching another interview, it's kind of going to be up to the jury to decide whether it was proportional or not, I guess, or self-defense.
all the witness statements are saying it was a shove that was goaded, but let's assume everyone's lying and this murderer is telling the truth. You still can't, because the scenario, what you're advocating for, and pulling Rosa Parks into, is that every time someone walks through a club and someone shoves them or bumps them, you can pull out a knife and stab them in the heart and kill them. And I have no doubt that more is going to come out of Karmelo Anthony. That more evidence, there are rumors.
Did he say Kamala Anthony? Kamala?
No doubt that more is going to come out of Karmelo Anthony. That more evidence, there are rumors that I don't want to regurgitate.
Oh, please do.
No.
Please do.
Yeah. Bring it to the table. This is called Face Off. Bring it to the table.
About what has been sold. That you sent me this weekend when we were discussing it. You sent me the statement by the police chief that turned out to be just fabricated. Somebody out there making believe the FBI is now involved, right? And that people are regurgitating all over social media. And it's all driven on racial lines. You are the one that was calling for Daniel Penny to go to prison for life. Now, mind you, we have this new spectacular game in America, right, where we play white man always bad and evil, black man always good, no matter what happens. The truth is, my feelings on this, if it was a white young man who brought a knife to school, went to someone else's tent, started being a jackleg, refused to move out, and then pulled out a knife and jabbed it in someone's heart, I would call him a murderer. And if a white kid did exactly what Karmelo Anthony did to a black kid, you would be out here marching in the streets.
Oh, no, I would not. George Zimmerman with the Trayvon Martin and put his hands on that kid who was doing nothing wrong. And you same white folks found George Zimmerman not guilty of murder when Trayvon was defending himself. Right here in Texas, you've had many cases where white men have been assaulted by black men. They use deadly force and they're not charged.
Why are you talking about something else?
You cannot tell me.
Lying about my position, you despicable, shameless liar.
He was a liar. That young man was assaulted. He was threatened more than one time. He was asked to move from an area he had a right to sit in. He didn't approach nobody. He didn't threaten nobody. That young man, after being threatened continuously.
Wow. What a heated debate. I didn't know I was getting all this. I'm glad I actually streamed this. Even though it doesn't seem like we have a lot of people here. I don't know if people are just tired of talking about this. I'm not sure. I don't think Metcalf should have touched Karmelo. I almost think like maybe he was baited. Maybe this guy was just baiting him to do something, I don't know. Or it could have been just a warning, but he went there with a knife to the school event.
3 times in a row, was punched in the face. He had a right to defend himself. So don't tell me that.
I remember what I said. I don't think Metcalf should have touched Karmelo.
This young man can be threatened multiple times and physically punched and assaulted, and he ain't got a right to put his hands in self-defense on the person assaulting him. And he can use whatever force is necessary to stop the attack.
Why do you just lie
brought up Daniel
all the
Penny.
time?
You brought up Daniel Penny.
I did.
Daniel Penny choked a young man to death on the subway, but that young man he hadn't assaulted anybody. He was making threats, but he physically didn't touch anyone. This case was threats backed up by a physical attack and assault that this young man put on that young black brother. That young black brother had a right to defend himself when he was beyond threatened but viciously attacked.
Well, there's another key difference, right? Mr. Penny, right, had a crazy guy going up and screaming and yelling.
I don't know if this is a fair equation or not. Is this like the black Nancy Grace? I like Nancy Grace, but the only thing, like I said about this story that's just crazy to me is like the misinformation. The misinformation is crazy, because if we could just stick to the information that was actually put out there, then okay, let's talk about that. The actual corroborated information on the documents. And of course you can talk about your theories, but to go on TV and, the punching thing is just not true. It's not true. And the host didn't correct him either. I guess he doesn't know. That's not a thing.
And threatening to kill people, an unhinged guy that should have probably been in a hospital.
The same thing the white boy did to Karmelo Anthony.
Not screaming over you. Let me finish, right? And Daniel Penny, not using a deadly weapon, restrained him. And I said from the very beginning, there's a real question about where the line was drawn and what he did and if he was alive. Now, the medical examiner came out and they said it turns out that the fellow was still alive when Mr. Penny let him go. But that was a very nuanced situation. But here's a big nuance. I mean, something that you're ignoring is it didn't involve a deadly weapon. But let's talk about examples. So Daniel Penny put up a GoFundMe and it got taken down. Oh, it can't be up, right? The Anthony family, the wonderful Anthony family that raised this murderer, did such a wonderful job, this defender, right, of liberty, this new Rosa Parks for 2025, as you call them. They put a GoFundMe up for $100,000. It didn't get taken down. The moment, minutes after it got the $100,000, they jacked it up for more money because it's all just a con.
George Zimmerman raised $1 million that was donated to him after killing Trayvon Martin. Kyle Rittenhouse, after he killed 2 people in cold blood, he raised over $1 million.
But the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, though, those people that he killed, and he claimed they were coming after him, those people were actually criminals too. Wasn't one like a pedophile too or some shit? Kyle was convicted. Kyle had convicted criminals. One had a gun chasing him. He was self-defense.
$1 million. Wait a minute.
Let's
the
talk
officer
about that.
who killed Michael Brown, he raised almost $2 million. So don't tell me that when black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who didn't start a fight, who didn't threaten nobody, who was sitting where he could have right to be sitting, was threatened more than one time, was physically attacked, he defends himself, and then all of a sudden he's in jail for murder. But guess what, brother? We don't stand behind ours like you white folks stand behind yours.
Let me
that
be
young
clear.
brother was attacked.
I know you're yelling because you really get worked up when you're lying. But let me say.
Well, Quanell's right about as far as like the support. Yeah, Karmelo has a lot of support.
Let me say very clear. But then it's justified.
Us killing
but
y'all.
we defend ourselves.
That's true, Kathy. That's true, Kathy.
Out of hell with that.
Firstly, George Zimmerman, absolutely a murderer. The officer that shot Michael Brown, there's evidence that Michael Brown attacked him. The question is, there's also some evidence that he was running away that was refuted. That's a very weird situation. It exemplifies wall cops.
But this young man attacked Karmelo Anthony.
Zimmerman's a piece of shit. From all the stuff that I saw, because like I said last night, I never followed the case, and then I started looking a little bit last night, reading about it. Zimmerman guy's a piece of shit.
Hold on, Mr. Liar in Chief.
No, you're the liar.
Oh, shit, liar in chief.
You white folk hate when black folks
You
defend
brought up
themselves.
George Zimmerman. He was prosecuted. It failed.
And white folks found him not guilty. All white
He was
jury.
absolutely a murderer, in my opinion. I disagreed with that outcome, just like I disagree with the officer that murdered Tamir Rice, not facing charges. You
Found not guilty.
You act like, no, well, he was never charged.
A grand jury said not guilty. Let him go.
Here's the thing. You act like all white people have this one opinion. What we're only seeing in America right now is the only thing we see is the brazenness of some people. Obviously, it's not everyone that racialize every incident, and they look at it through the prism of race, right? And for you, if you flip-flop the races here, you would be screaming about the entire different thing, and I'd be agreeing with you that was wrong. But you make all of your decisions based on race. Then you lie and scream and talk.
Assessment
no, it's
here,
not an assessment.
Because there's a white victim in this case.
How
I'm sorry,
Texas law?
He didn't start a fight.
Texas law,
he didn't threaten anybody.
Well, actually,
Karmelo Anthony did not threaten anybody.
Very clear.
I've talked to witnesses. I've talked to the family.
Shit,
I've talked to the grandfather.
Which family?
Karmelo Anthony's family.
Exactly.
And I've talked to his family.
You're getting paid.
And gotten
You're
details.
getting paid.
Not a penny. Not a penny.
Here's
but guess
the
what?
deal.
I'll say this to you.
Don't say it.
Not only am I not getting paid, I'm sending some of my money to his defense fund. Because that young brother deserves an adequate and thorough defense, and I'm donating to it, and I pray others do also.
So if he has such a valid defense, why are there so many lies swirling around in the slurry of social media that first it was that there was past encounters between these brothers and Mr. Anthony and his girlfriend, that they robbed Mr. Anthony, that they attacked him and beat him up, and he was looking at his life was threatened, when none of it occurred. There's very detailed witness accounts that are available.
But there's all kind of lies going on.
There are
all kind of lies going on.
Actually, there's not, right?
Now, what about this one?
So I read it.
Now, this young man was killed.
You can yell. I can yell too. No, you interrupted me.
You opening your mouth to me like that.
You've been yelling at me the whole time.
You white folks are reaping what you sow.
White folks.
You're reaping what you sow.
White folks.
Oh, and I think that's how a lot of people feel too, like reaping what you sow. This is for slavery and all that kind of stuff. And so people are very angry and feel strongly about this. And I listen. I really believe this encounter with these two young teenagers wasn't about race. I don't. But that's what it's become now.
Reaping what you sow.
So what did Austin Metcalf deserve to get murdered in your book?
When he threatened more than once.
Okay.
When he approached.
What did he say?
Let me finish.
What did he say?
When he threatened that if he did not give up his seat, what he was going to do.
What did he say he was going to do?
When he threatened that young man that if you don't move, I'm going to punch you in your face.
Okay.
2. 3, when he decided that he was going to take his hand, punch that innocent kid in the face who didn't threaten him, who was not breaking any laws, who was not violating no school policies or procedures. When he did that, he crossed the line.
He was violating
and it gave Karmelo Anthony the right to defend himself. Karmelo Anthony was not the instigator. He was not the initial aggressor. The instigator, the threatener, and the initial aggressor, Mr. Metcalf, died. He brought that on himself.
Okay. That's a disgusting take, right? But you said he wasn't breaking any rules. Was it a violation of school policy to come to the track meet armed with a deadly weapon? Yes or no?
Wait a minute.
Yes or no?
It was that kind of knife.
No?
It was that kind of knife.
Yes or no?
It was not that kind of knife.
And that's another thing that's going to come up too, as far as like the knife, and because in some places, some states is like depending on the size of the knife is whether it's considered deadly or not. But one of the videos I was watching, and I'm going to play it, somebody talked about the legality in that Texas. They don't really go by the size, I guess. It's just like the proportionality, I guess.
Well, what kind of knife was it?
That's the lie being told.
No.
It was not no butcher knife, no kitchen knife. It wasn't no buck knife. It wasn't that kind of knife.
What kind of knife was it?
See, I'm going to be quiet right now. It's going to come out.
Oh,
those knives that he used were the same ones they used to help put them tents up.
Okay, so he was armed with a knife.
Everybody, a lot of kids had those knives putting those tents up. It's a custom knife that they used to put those tents up. He didn't bring no weapon like that.
Are you allowed to carry a knife at school?
Charles, it was not that type of weapon.
Okay. Was it a knife
at all,
or not?
Charles? It was something that they used to help erect tents.
Okay. Who told you that?
All of them. Let me say this, Charles. I'm not going to get too deep into that.
I get
point,
that. Had Karmelo been in trouble before for carrying a weapon at school?
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about it. Okay, so we can agree, though, that it is in fact a violation of policy to have a deadly weapon at a track meet. Yes
Charles,
or no? Yes or no? Can we agree to that?
He didn't bring that type of weapon.
Okay.
He did not.
Did he have a weapon hidden in his backpack?
He used a weapon to defend himself,
Did he
Charles.
open up his backpack?
He used a weapon to defend himself.
I dare you to touch me.
No, Charles.
Well, so
he had a right to do that.
Oh, well, really?
He wasn't wrong.
Really?
If you in my face threaten to do bodily harm to me, if you threaten me over and over to do bodily harm to me, and then you punch me in my face, because he got a right to use whatever force necessary to stop that that attack.
So what you're saying is, if it turns out that everyone that was there that gave witness statements that have been published, if they weren't lying, and he didn't punch him in the face, right? If they didn't threaten him with physicality, he didn't punch him in his face, do you still think that murder was okay?
I've talked to two
Do you
students.
still think that murder was okay?
Deeper. I've talked to two students who were right there, Caucasian students.
Okay.
And they told me, yes, he was punched in the face.
Who were those students?
I'm not going to name them.
Okay, of course you're not.
But those
because
two
you're
students,
lying to Fox Soul.
No, you are damn lying.
No, I don't.
That's crazy because, Quanell, he has been in the past. He was accused of lying multiple times. And if you guys remember, some of you, there's a lot of new people, but some of you guys might remember Rudy Farias. He's supposedly that guy's making more. Rudy Farias, the supposed kid that was kidnapped and whatever, but he was home the whole time with his mama or something, chilling and walking out. So he was a prisoner in his own home, but he was chilling and hanging out and walking throughout the neighborhood and all that stuff. And they pretty much said that this guy was lying. I don't know what's true and what's not, but
I talked to those two students.
You're the same person.
They admitted that he punched that boy in the face after.
But I don't know with that case. I'm still conflicted with Quanell and that. Like, I feel like they kind of suckered him too, though. Quanell, that Rudy Farias family, they were skeezers. I think that mama.
Threatening him, Charles.
Okay. You are the same person that sent me this narrative along with the false police chief statement.
That was put out there before the public, yes.
Right? The thing is, you are just regurgitating lies that are all designed that you wouldn't. And my whole problem is not that you're. My whole problem is not. If he punched him in the face. My whole problem.
So if he threatened him and punched him, was that self-defense?
No, it's still not a Texas.
So if you threaten that kid over and over and punch him in the face, you can't use no force necessary to stop that attack. So Texas don't have a standing ground law.
Do you want
Texas don't have a standing ground law?
Not in that context.
Oh,
no.
stop it,
I think you misunderstand it.
No, he got a standing ground law, Charles, and he stood his ground.
Okay, you're lying.
He stood his ground.
And I don't know for sure, although I know you're a very intelligent man, so I think you're knowingly lying as opposed to just.
No, you
but
just
my
don't like
problem,
putting the 12
my
truth
real
in your
problem
face.
with this, it's not that you're wrong about Texas law. My real problem with this is that this incident has made it glaringly clear that you are willing to take whatever position you have to take, irrespective of the truth, based purely on skin color. And that's repugnant. In Texas, right? So let me educate you about self-defense. He did not have the option to escalate to the use of a deadly weapon and deadly force in response to any sort of just shove, or even if it was a punch, right? You can't pull out a gun and shoot someone that punches you.
So what can you do if you get punched?
Hold on.
And I don't believe there was a punch involved at all. Like, that wasn't mentioned. What I saw mentioned, and I thought we saw in the police report, was that I thought it was Karmelo that said, go ahead and punch me or something. I kind of like instigated him a little bit, but he didn't punch him. He did go supposedly touch him. He supposedly touched him to like physically remove him. That's when he stabbed him with the knife, and people argue that's enough. People say it's not. But the whole thing that he just punched him and then his reaction was to stab him, I haven't seen that anywhere besides Quanell saying that.
Texas.
You can punch him back. You can shove him back. No, it's true.
You got a right to stop the aggressor.
No, you don't have a right to use
stand
deadly
your
force.
ground and stop the aggressor.
So you think that we live in a state where every time someone shoves or punches someone, the other person can pull out a gun or a knife and kill them?
This is what I believe.
Yes or no?
This is what I believe.
Yeah, you should be able. You should answer that question.
You go up to someone and you threaten them, continuously threaten them, and then you follow up on that threat and physically attack them and assault them, they got a right to use whatever force is necessary to stop the aggressor. That's what I believe, and that's what took place in this case.
So here's a truth for you. If you have to make stuff up to justify what you're arguing, you don't have an argument, right? And the truth is, you can, with the scenario, the Texas and America that you're arguing for, and you're only arguing for it because the murderer is black, right? If the murderer was white and the victim was black, you'd be leading marches in the street, people would be burning stuff down. But that's a whole different deal. You want an America, and you can't even see the slippery slope. You want an America where every time someone punches somebody on a campus, at an airport, and wherever, if they can get their hands on a deadly weapon, they can open up their bag and say, hey, you better not touch me or else, and then shove a knife in someone's heart or shoot a gun through their chest. That's the America you want.
I want an America to where If you are not a double standard America, not a two-system of justice
that's
America,
all you want.
not laws for white folks and black folks. What I want is an America that says, if you go up to somebody who's not doing anything wrong to you, who's not threatening you, and you start threatening them, and then you follow up those threats by physically attacking them, they got a right to use whatever force that is necessary to stop that assault and that aggressor. That's the America that I want.
See, that's
but
not
unfortunately,
the story that's out there.
whenever black people or black men do that to a white person,
yes,
it's
that's what it
justified.
is.
Whenever
That's
a white person kill a black person, just thinking they were threatened, it's justified.
So,
you said on this show, and you said Daniel Penny was not guilty. You said on this show and said Daniel Penny should be found not guilty, that it was wrong that he be charged. And the young man that he choked to death did not physically assault Daniel Penny at all. He was threatening somebody else, and Daniel Penny intervened and choked him to death. So how in the hell can you sit here right now and say that a young man who was threatened over and over, as Karmelo Anthony was, and was punched, that he doesn't have a right to defend himself? Because in the other case, Mr. Penny is white, and in this case, Daniel, and in this case, Karmelo Anthony is black.
Actually, it was you that took the opposite position. I took the same position, right? That you have to look at when you have a claim of self-defense, you have to look at the immediate facts and what happened and talk about it, especially one where you have a physical force, a restraint that led to a death. It turned out the testimony during the trial was that and I forget his name, he was still alive when law enforcement got there. So it contravenes the narrative that his death was caused by the chokehold. Now, I don't know. I didn't sit on the jury. And then it comes down to the reasonable use of non-deadly force, right? He was restraining him, and the question was the restraint too much. It's a very nuanced question, and that was my position. You want to make everything black or white because you're alive, but I'm not.
Is it a crime to threaten somebody with physical harm?
Again, there is no evidence.
You a lawyer, based on witness testimony, Charles, is it a crime in Texas to threaten somebody with physical harm? Yes or no?
$9.99 through Super Chat. Penny, Rittenhouse and Zimmerman had their day in court and a jury found them not guilty.
Thank you, Island, for the 10. Yeah, and so will Anthony have his day in court.
Okay, I let you go on.
Yes or no, sir?
It is a traffic ticket.
If he's found guilty, it's probably going to be crazy.
Okay, now wait a minute. Is it also a crime to physically attack someone who's no threat to you whatsoever?
It is a crime to assault people. It'd be Class C. If there was no pain, there was assault.
So did Mr. Metcalf die in the commission of a crime?
Okay, again, you don't have a right. See, you don't.
Did he die committing a crime?
Well, I don't know. In
fact, if he physically attacked that kid first,
what the witness statements are? Okay, but the witness statements are that he told him that, in fact, that Karmelo Anthony went under the tent and was harassing people. He asked him to leave, and then
Mr. Metcalf died in the commission of committing a crime.
Anthony is a disgusting murderer.
No, he's not.
Calling him a disgusting murderer.
Knock him out. Knock him out.
He would be
marching, burning, and
okay, that was Fox Face Off. I think Quanell works with Fox. I thought that he gets, he has some type of deal with them or something. But interesting to see. I wanted to play a little bit of the snippets of this video as well. This is from Nate the lawyer, and he kind of gave some opinion. Well, he didn't really give opinion. He talked about two people that gave opposing opinions, and he's a lawyer. He talked about. Wait, did I pick the right one? This is the wrong video. That's the wrong one. Is it not working? What the? Oh.
Teenager accused of stabbing another student athlete at a track meet told officers as he was being taken into custody that he did it in self-defense.
Austin Metcalf was killed this week.
So I know that story. So we have.
They asked him to move, and when Austin grabbed his backpack to move, take it, he stabbed him in the chest and killed him.
What does he do? He goes and touches the kid again. And sure enough, this is the ultimate, from what it seems, the F-A-F-O. F around and found out. And he found out. And now he's no longer with us. And for some reason, I'm supposed to feel bad about this. And just so we're clear, if the races were reversed, I'd say the same thing. But at the same time, I don't know a lot of black kids that if someone else were to reach into their bag and say, hey, you come at me again and you know, see what happens. I don't know a lot of black kids who would go, okay.
Well, that part, as far as, and I said that the other day, if somebody had kind of made a veiled threat like that to me, I probably wouldn't challenge them. I don't know what they have, a gun or whatever the case is, you know. I know this was a school event. Maybe he felt comfortable or something. I don't know, you know, but I would.
So we have a guy who pulled out a knife prior to any physical altercation. First of all, he already committed a crime. Let's be clear about that, by bringing the knife to this school event in the first place. But he pulls it out after being told he's not allowed to sit in the tent that doesn't correspond to his school because he found that to be disrespectful. That's me speculating on motive right there. Let's be clear about that. Then he tries to bait Austin Metcalf into a physical altercation, which he immediately escalates to a deadly force altercation. And now he's trying to claim, and his father's trying to claim, and a bunch of different various activists are trying to claim that he was not the aggressor. He's just it's a Baba Angel Aladdin who was defending himself. And you can't really expect him as a young black man, age 17, to understand that you're not allowed to stab somebody over a dispute on whether or not you're allowed to sit under a specific tent. Now, of course, we talked about
Okay, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to look at the left and the right response to this high school track meet tragedy.
That's Nate, the lawyer.
How each side are interpreting both the law and the facts. Now, for our left-wing commentator today, we're looking at the amazing Lucas and his video, Racist Furious, as Karmelo Anthony stands his ground. For our right-wing commentator, we're going to be looking at Actual Justice Warrior and his video, Black Activist. The other one is saying this is murder. But now, before we get into their opinion, what exactly happened on this fateful day?
So we know what happened. Let's see here. Hold on.
Told Anthony he needed to move. Then Anthony grabbed his bag, reached inside, and said, quote, touch me and see what happens. The documents say a short time later, Metcalf grabbed Anthony to tell him to move, and Anthony stabbed Austin once in the chest and then ran away. Later telling an officer at the scene, I'm not alleged, I did it. He put his hands on me, I told him not to. Anthony's bond was set at $1 million.
Now, if convicted, Anthony is facing up to 99 years in prison. But we have the self-defense argument. Now, when it comes to self-defense, there's one key concept here that I think this case is going to focus on, and that's the concept of proportionality. An extreme example of proportionality would be bringing a gun to a pillow fight. That's why the law requires that if you're going to use deadly physical force against someone else, the requirement is that you have a reasonable belief that they're going to use deadly physical force against you. Since this is Texas, here's Texas Penal Code Section 9.32, deadly force in defense of person. Now, I'm not going to read the whole statute, but this statute lays out the requirements for somebody.
Let me just read it. So, a person is justified in using deadly force against another if the actor would be justified in using force against the other under Section 931, and when, to the degree the actor reasonably believes the deadly force is immediately necessary. To protect the actor against others' use or attempted use of unlawful deadly force.
Person. Now, I'm not going to read the whole statute, but this statute lays out the requirements for somebody employing deadly physical force in a self-defense scenario. This is Texas law understanding that concept of proportionality. You can use a deadly physical force against someone only if you reasonably think that they're using deadly physical force against you. Now, who makes that determination of what's reasonable or not? That's the jury.
That's the jury. You can also do it to prevent others' imminent commission of aggravated kidnapping, murder, SA robbery, aggravated robbery.
Force against. You have understanding of the law and you have an understanding of the facts. Now, I also have to put out this quick legal note because someone's going to watch this video and say, hey, for self-defense claim, you need to find somebody. How commentators on both the left and right side are seeing this issue in the self-defense context. Now, the question here is simple. Was Karmelo Anthony justified in employing deadly physical force in this situation? And was it reasonable for him to believe that deadly physical force was being applied against him in this scenario?
Amazing Lucas. So Amazing Lucas believes that it's self-defense.
Is that this kid came out in self-defense, and you had one incident where it says, hey, touch me again or come at me again and see what happens. Now, what happens? The kid, the high IQ, this is what they want to say, according to the racists, the high IQ, pattern recognizer, per capita elitist, what does he do? He goes and touches the kid again. And sure enough, this is the ultimate, from what it seems, FAFO. F around and found out. And he found out. And now he's no longer with us. And for some reason, I'm supposed to feel bad about this. And just so we're clear, if the races were reversed, I'd say the same thing. But at the same
I don't think so.
same time, I don't know a lot of black kids that if someone else were to reach into their bag and say, hey, you come at me again and you see what happens, I don't know a lot of black kids who would go, okay. Like, that's not, just being in this country, that's not how we're trained. And this is a partly due to post-traumatic slave syndrome, a book that I recommend you all read.
So just to be clear, the amazing Lucas believes that this was a proportional response to the facts and circumstances that he has seen on the interwebs. Do you agree with his assessment that as soon as the young man was warned, touch me again and see what happens, that was enough to initiate a deadly physical force response? If you agree with the amazing Lucas, let me know.
I don't think
deadly physical force. He was laughing.
He goes and touches the kid again. And sure enough, this is the ultimate, from what it seems, FAFO.
He said he touched him, and that forfeited his life. Now let's move to the right side of the aisle. Here is YouTuber Actual Justice.
Guy who pulled out a knife prior to any physical altercation. First of all, he already committed a crime, let's be clear about that, by bringing the knife to this school event in the first place. But he pulls it out after being told he's not allowed to sit in the tent that doesn't correspond to his school because he found that to be disrespectful. That's me speculating on motive right there. Let's be clear about that. Then he tries to bait Austin Metcalf into a physical altercation, which he immediately escalates to a deadly force altercation. And now he's trying to claim, and his father's trying to claim, and a bunch of different various activists are trying to claim that he was not the aggressor. He's just it's a Baba Angel Aladdin who was defending himself. And you can't really expect him as a young black man, age 17, to understand that you're not allowed to stab somebody over a dispute on whether or not you're allowed to sit under a specific tent.
Now you see why jury selection is very important. If you have a whole bunch of actual justice warriors, he's going to jail for murder, probably going to be going for life. But if you have a whole bunch of amazing Lucases on the jury, they're going to be a lot more sympathetic to the claims of self-defense, and they're going to believe that this was proportional. Now let me know.
So yeah, it really kind of depends on the jury and people's, I guess, opinion and feeling about it. I did see Grande talk about this too a bit. I forgot what stuck out to me. I don't remember.
In response to this comment, Karmelo opened his after witness, whose account was corroborated by a second witness, was pronounced dead at 10:53 a.m. The police spoke to over 30 witnesses who saw the alleged stabbing. One witness, whose account was corroborated by a second witness, had this story to tell. After Karmelo sat down under the Memorial High School tent, Austin told him he would need to move out from under the tent. In response to this comment, Karmelo opened his bag and reached inside, saying, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin then touched Karmelo. At this point, Karmelo invited Austin to punch him and see what would happen. In order to get Karmelo to move, Austin grabbed or pushed him. Karmelo pulled out a black knife.
So it was verbal, then Metcalf puts his hands on him, and supposedly Karmelo's like, punch me, and also said, see what happens if you touch me.
He stabbed Austin once in the chest before running away. Austin grabbed his chest and asked bystanders for assistance. The police were able to recover the knife that Karmelo allegedly used to stab Austin. It was in the bleachers. Karmelo Anthony was charged with murder. At the time I'm making this video, he is being held in jail on a $1 million bond. Now moving to my analysis. Based on statements that Karmelo Anthony allegedly made to the police, he maintained his innocence. It appears as though he's going to argue self-defense. Some media outlets have reported that Karmelo was charged with first-degree murder, but that charge does not exist in the state of Texas. Texas has capital murder and murder. Again, Karmelo was charged with murder. This is the intentional killing of another person. It is a first-degree felony punishable by 5 to 99 years in prison. Premeditation is not an element of the crime. It is not necessary to be convicted of murder in Texas. There is a defense available in Texas called sudden passion, which is a strong emotional reaction provoked by the victim. If proven, sudden passion reduces the murder charge to a second-degree felony. The conviction would still be for murder, but the penalty would be 2 to 20 years instead of 5 to 99 years. This leaves Karmelo with two possible defenses. One, he can argue that this was a case of self-defense, therefore he was not guilty of murder. Two, he can argue sudden passion, which leaves him convicted of murder as a second-degree felony.
And that's what I thought was interesting about this video, because I watched it this morning, and I didn't even know that was a thing, an option potentially for Texas, a sudden passion murder. And so Dr. Todd Grande, that's what he goes to at the end. His theory, speculation is that maybe that's what he'll get, a charge like that, a lesser charge, if they convict him of something. I don't think he walks away with self-defense claim. I don't think this would be considered self-defense, but again, that's up to a jury. I almost feel like maybe they'll find him the sudden passion one, maybe if he can pull it off. I don't know.
Aggressor. Was it Karmelo for sitting under the wrong tent, or was it down to what the jury will consider to be provocation? Who was the initial aggressor? Was it Karmelo for sitting under the wrong tent, or was it Austin for directing him to move? Maybe the jury will not consider either one of those actions provocation, and they will move to what happened next in the confrontation. Did Karmelo provoke Austin by saying, "Touch me and see what happens," or inviting Austin to punch him? Or did Austin provoke Karmelo when he grabbed or pushed him? For an incident that only took a few seconds, there are quite a few angles which a jury will have to carefully contemplate. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Karmelo was not necessarily looking to kill someone, but he maintained an attitude where he was not going to accept anyone insulting him. This is why he was carrying a knife. He wanted to be ready. When Austin engaged Karmelo over the seating situation, it was just the excuse that Karmelo needed to ramp things up and prove that he was a dominant, tough guy. He challenged Austin to touch him and to punch him, and Austin fell for it. Karmelo now had the opportunity to use his knife. As it turns out, stabbing someone to death is difficult to cope with. Karmelo had a strong emotional reaction after killing Austin, which led to him crying hysterically. Being a tough guy may not seem as appealing now. I think it's pretty likely that Karmelo will be convicted of some type of serious offense and be sentenced to prison. He was unhappy at being labeled an alleged offender. I'm pretty sure the state of Texas will be more than happy to drop the word alleged. Perhaps there will be a plea deal, which spares Karmelo from a conviction of murder.
That's the other thing. But I don't see him going. What do you guys think? You think they'll take a plea deal? I don't think this has become such a polarized case and story. I don't think he's gonna plea. I don't think so. There would be a lot of people pissed and upset that support and donated and stuff like that to Karmelo's. But I don't know. Just my gut, and I could be wrong. I'm not an expert. So everybody's entitled. Everybody's entitled to how they feel. Even the experts get it wrong. All the time. I see it all the time. And you can't really, like, who's to say what a jury is going to do? You have no idea. You can't control them. It's a group of people. There's been shocking outcomes in the past, but I don't see him walking away unscathed. I mean, even if he's found not guilty, he was still scathed. But I mean, like, I don't see him walking without any kind of charge, just not guilty. I think they find him guilty on something.
Murder as a first-degree felony.
And I do think that's one of the biggest questions. Why bring the knife? Yeah, why bring the knife to the situation? He's going to probably have to explain that. They're going to ask him. And why previously have a knife? And the whole bullying thing again, I think it's out the window because, one, they didn't even go to the same school, but two, they didn't know each other. And the families, somebody representing the family had said that they did not know each other. So how is he bullying if they don't know each other? Unless you consider that moment right then and there that he said to move, that if you consider that bullying. But there's a lot of people saying that they knew each other and have a history and all this stuff, and it's just not true.
Either way, he will have a lot of time to think about the fateful decision he made in a split second in that stadium. Karmelo cannot blame his impulsivity entirely because he did bring that knife with him. If he never had the knife, he never would have killed somebody. Now moving to my final thoughts. This case has led to a lot of misinformation on social media, some of which is coming from those looking to advance a narrative based on race. For instance, they are trying to argue that Karmelo stabbed Austin because Austin was white, or Austin provoked Karmelo because Karmelo was black. Someone even impersonated a law enforcement agency on social media and posted misinformation about this case. Apparently, this person was trying to make Austin look like the bad guy, falsely claiming that he broke Karmelo's cell phone and struck him with his fist. Impersonating a law enforcement agency is illegal and may lead to some problems for whoever did that. One reason I think people get so worked up about cases like this is because they are always looking to prove their side of the argument. Everything that happens, every alleged crime, reinforces their understanding of the world. For instance, if somebody believes that white people routinely provoke black people into fights, they will blame Austin for this incident. If someone believes that black people look for reasons to attack white people, they will see Karmelo as the bad guy. They forget what really matters in these cases is the evidence. Right now, there is no indication that race was a factor in this incident. I think one lesson that can be learned in this case is how impulsive people are all over the place. One never knows when they will encounter someone who has a high level of impulsivity, and one never knows if that person will be carrying a weapon. Unfortunately, there will always be people who seek any excuse to be violent. Those are my thoughts on the case of Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Somebody told me there was a police chase. I'm trying to see, but I don't see anything. I don't see nothing. Oh, she's talking about the radio. It's on the radio, some type of police chase, but the chance of us actually seeing it on video, probably slim. Atlanta. So that's pretty much it, man. I don't know where we go from here. I guess we have to wait to see whatever comes out with this case. It's gonna have to, go to trial. Unless he takes a plea deal. I don't see a plea deal happening though, but unless he takes a plea deal, it's gonna go to trial, and I think it's gonna heavily depend on the jury and what evidence comes out. What else can they say? Maybe with the reasons for bringing the knife, if you can prove that, and it's gonna be interesting to see. All right, we're gonna do something here. The next thing we're going to jump onto is, we're going to jump on the second channel. I just wanted to cover this story a little bit about this man that was deported. They say by accident. Some dad supposedly was deported by accident. They're saying it was a mistake. Oh, shit. Oh. But it's kind of weird because he does have some type of gang association, and he left that country, and now they wanted to ship him back. He had married some lady here, so we're going to jump on that and cover that for a little bit on the second page. And they have Lori, they're doing some Lori Vallow trial, Lori Daybell, whatever, cult mom. I don't know if she's going to testify. Somebody was saying almost as if she was going to testify. I don't know if it's going to if it happens, maybe we'll jump on. I don't know, it's probably going to be a long testimony, but she's supposed to testify. Lori Vallow. All right, guys, I'm going to switch you over. Here's the link. We'll just hang out for a little bit more. Here's the link to the deportation.